Very good afternoon to everyone. Today I'll be doing the Hindu analysis of 29th of September. So in the first slide we got to see what that the architect of India's green revolution departs. Now you need to know about green revolution, what wonders green revolution have done and where. So, if you have a little bit idea about post-independence, that means the kind of India that British have handed over to us, uh, the agriculture was totally in a very deteriorative state. So, how was it possible to improve the agrarian economy? So, he was the man who M.S. Swaminathan. The time is 1925 to 2023. Now, M.S. Swaminathan, the legendary architectural scientist and a key architect of the country's green revolution, passed away at it, and now it was back-to-back severe drought in the mid 1960s that compelled the political leadership and scientific fraternity to look for the solutions to overcome the ship-to-mouth existence. That means the country was dependent on food grains imported from US then. That means the country was heavily dependent on US food grains. That means on the imports. Dr. Swaminathan worked closely with two agriculture ministers of that time for the success of the Green Revolution, a program that paved the way for quantum jump in productivity and production of wheat and rice through adoption of chemical biological technology. Now, what are the efforts that were done? So, moving to page number 12. Now, you can have a little bit idea about the person. So, here it is all about his qualifications, how come the life was with him. Now, here the author is talking about the awards and recognition that Dr. Swaminathan got during his study period. And next, moving on to the 13th page. So, Indian agriculture scientist and policymaker remembers M.S. Swaminathan as someone who walked ahead of time, not just as scientist, research, and academic, but also as a visionary administrator. The community believes that developing high-yielding basmati rice varieties innovatively using the technology of mutation for various crop application of genetics for increasing production and food security and launching programs such as lab to land. That means all the research that were happening in labs, moving to land, were his major contribution to the agriculture sector. Now, former this director, Dr. Swaminathan was, as an encouraging teacher and strong administrator, he was a professor. Now, these are the words of gratitude. Now, nutritional quality through mutation of crops. Now, what were the lab works that were done? Mutation of crops, biofortification, funding state to promote agriculture, precision farming, advocacy through National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, and establishment of Central Institute for Women in Agriculture were all his pet projects. So, one by one, you should know about the projects that M.S. Swaminathan was very keen and was working on. Just a minute. Just hold on for a second. Okay. So we need to know about the certain projects, for example, in which he was working on. So one was your mutation of crops. Mutation of crops, biofortification, funding states to produce agriculture, that means funds by states, and for what? For the projects of agriculture. The next one is precision farming. The other one is advocacy through National Academy of Agriculture Sciences and establishment of Central Institute for Women in Agriculture. So, establishment of Central Institute for Women in Agriculture. So these are the certain pet projects which Ms. Swaminathan had keen interest on. Now, he remembers insightful papers now on his doctoral research work in the science of potato. He joined the Central Rice Research Institute in Uttar when he came back to India after his research. He also had a special consideration for this institute. Other than that, he also made efforts to launch the International Rice Research Institute to cultivate rice with C4 carbon fixation capabilities. So he was also involved in what? Building up of rice research institutes. Rice Research Institute, which shall work with respect to what? Carbon fixation. Dr. Swaminathan also contributed to developing the world's first high yielding basmati rice. So, world's first high yielding basmati rice. He had made incomparable contribution in improving the agriculture production by developing high yielding crop varieties, and modern technologies would always be remembered by the country. Other than that, it is said that Swaminathan's dedication to welfare of farmers as was unwavering, and more so, he always advocated for fair prices, access to technology, social justice within the agricultural landscape. His work was what a testament to his commitment to improving the lives of those who toiled on the land. His farmer centric approaches resonated far beyond India's borders, serving as an inspiration to agricultural community worldwide. Now let's move on to now this is how our Prime Minister has paid tribute to Swaminathan. So what you need to know about this man is his immense contribution towards agriculture. Let's move on to the next news analysis. Okay, so here is the next news, and that says that a dictionary to prevent a language from vanishing. So it simply means that if a language is going to be extinct. So, a language spoken by barely 1,600 people living in parts of West Bengal bordering Bhutan is to get a dictionary. Thanks to the efforts of the professor at the University of Calcutta. Toto is a Sino-Tibetan language spoken by tribal Toto people and is written in Bengali script. So you should know about the language, which language they are talking about. It is Toto. And what they are saying is, it is a Sino-Tibetan language. Now, this Sino-Tibetan language is spoken by tribal Toto people and is written in the Bengali script. So, this is written in what? Bengali script. Even though the prominent community member Dhaniram, that is Toto, developed a script as recently as in 2015, most people either write it in Bengali script or write in Bengali language. A book by Padma Shri decorated Mr. Toto titled Dhanwa Totar Kathmala was written in Bengali. So you should know about the book. The dictionary is a step in the direction of preserving the language alive, so far only orally by putting its vocabulary in print. Here, two Toto words to be translated into Bengali and English will be composed in the Bengali script, considering that Toto script is still in a nascent stage and members of the tribe are more familiar with the Bengali script. The book is historic in the sense that the community does not have any collection of words or published primers. Mr. Toto's book is in Bengali. Other than that, what they are saying is that the trilingual dictionary, that is Toto Shabd Sangrah. So Toto Shabd Sangrah will be released in Kolkata on October 7 at a function marking its founding. I have found that every decade India is losing language and knowledge. I realized that I could use my position to organize collaborative workshops and translate literature of marginal language to include them in university curriculum to make them survive and bring them under academic spotlight. This is what I am saying, that a language from vanishing means that it is going to become extinct. So there needs to be effort that need to be done so as to survive them back. The dictionary has been compiled by Bhakta Toto, our employee. Bhakta Toto's now what they're saying is the book will protect the language from vanishing. Even those studying in English and Bengali can stay in touch with Toto because of its compilation. So you need to know about the book, that is Dharma Totar Kathamal and then the Toto Shabd Sangrah. Which will help revive Toto spoken by around 1,600 people in parts of West Bengal bordering Bhutan. Okay. So this was about Toto language. This is important with respect to art and culture part. Now let's move on to the next one. Next news. Now you see here, caring for the old. Yesterday also I did the analysis where we were talking about that the population India is going to have is an aging population now. So what is that? Caring for the old, India must attune its policies to ensure the elderly live a life of dignity. So a good part of the world's population is growing old, and India mirrors this trend as well. The reality, according to the United Nations Population Fund India Aging Report 2023 is that the population above 60 years will double from 10% to 14.9 crore, which is 20%. So 20% is what you are going to witness. That is India's aging population. Now, with 1 in 5 individual said to be a senior citizen, there will be implications for health, economy, and society. In Kerala and West Bengal, for instance, there is a growing population of the elderly who live alone as children migrate for better opportunities. So, yesterday also I was talking about ruralization of elderly. So, in most of the rural areas, you will find the elderly living. With life expectancy increasing thanks to better ways to fight disease, decreasing fertility rates in many countries, including India, there are challenges in nurturing and expanding elderly population. Within this macro phenomenon, there are myriad other data of importance. For instance, women elderly citizens outnumber their male counterpart. This is exactly what we did yesterday also, that is feminization of the elderly population. There is more of elderly females that are surviving and which is outnumbering their male counterparts. So at 60 years, a person in India may expect to live around 18.3 years, which is higher in case of women at 19 years compared to the men at 17.5 years. So if women in India, where labor force participation is low at 24%, do not have economic and social security, they will become more vulnerable in old age. So, what they want to say is that women usually bypass what the economic and social security, and why and how is this happening? Because they are not present in labor force participation. And once they are not there in labor force participation is that they are economically and socially fragile, and what is going to happen that they will become more vulnerable in old age. Why? Because there will be no security for them, so they will become more vulnerable in old age. Fine, there are also significant interstate variation. Most states in the south reported a higher share of elderly population than the national average in 2021, a gap that is expected. Um, a gap that is expected to widen by 2026. So, while states with higher fertility rates such as Bihar, Uttar Pradesh expect to see an increase in number of the share of elderly population too by 2026. So, they are saying that the share of elderly population, you will find that this share is going to increase. And when it is going to increase, what is going to happen? This is further going to increase by 2036. The level will remain lower than the Indian average. So overall, more than two-fifths of the elderly are in poorest wealth quintile, ranging from 5% in Punjab, 47% in Chhattisgarh, 18% of the elderly do not have any income. So this is also what we did yesterday, that 18% of the elderlies 18% of elderly are out of income. A high proportion of rural population is among the elderly and often deprived. So this is what we are saying, that this proportion of elderly, they are vulnerable. Why? Because they are not able to have any kind of social and financial security, which is eventually making them vulnerable. To meet the challenges, physical and mental health, basic needs of food and shelter, income security, and social care, a whole of society approach is required. That means here what need to happen is here what is required is that society need to contribute, and how? By giving them social security, by giving them social care, by providing them shelter, by providing them food and income. So if you see these kind of things are available, what is going to happen? This will provide what? A kind of secure environment to the elderly vulnerables, right? So geriatric cares must be fine-tuned to the unique healthcare needs. There are several schemes targeting the elderly, but many are unaware of them or find it too cumbersome to sign up. The National Policy on Older People, that is 1999, and the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act. That means we are having one policy and one act. You need to know about this. That is National Policy on Older Persons 1999 and Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007. Lay down the care of the elderly, but to ensure that senior citizens live in dignity. Public and private policies must provide for supportive environment. So what is required is that all in all, you require a societal responsibility. The society should be responsible enough to provide them with income, to provide them with social care, to provide them with social security, so that at a time when they are aging and when they reach that vulnerable situation, they don't found themselves, or they don't find themselves in a very miserable state, because that will eventually help them out to beat the situations. So this was about the elderlies. Now let's move on to the next news. The next news is regarding reforms can address India's kidney transplant deficit. Um, so let's talk about this. So India's organ shortage. India's organ shortage when it comes to kidney is alarming. In 2022, over 2 lakh patients needed a transplant, but there were only about 7,500 transplants, which was about 3.4%. Now, due to the prevalence of diabetes, malnourishment, overcrowding, poor sanitation, there is a high prevalence of chronic kidney diseases. So, kidney diseases are because of what? Prevalence of diabetes, malnourishment, overcrowding, poor sanitation, etc. in India. affecting about 17% of the population. Now, chronic kidney diseases often lead to end stage renal diseases. Kidney transplant is often the best treatment for this renal disease. Specifically, transplant is often better than alternatives on almost all dimensions, that material quality of life, patient convenience, life expectancy, as well as cost effectiveness. In contrast to India, the US and other developed countries could carry about 20% transplant. Notably, a significant portion of this gap is on the count of more stringent regulations in India than a lack of medical facilities. So, what is happening is there are four main ways a patient can obtain a kidney. Like how, if you're going for transplantation, so transplantation is not that easy. So, when you are going for transplantation, how is it possible? How you are finally seeing it happening? So there are four steps. That means the four main ways a patient can obtain a kidney. First is to get a kidney from a deceased person. That means the person who has just, or a device has occurred. Okay. This is constrained due to lack of donations. Why? Because people are not willing to donate their body organs. Now, the particular condition requires and why this is not possible, because that also depends upon the nature of the death and the infrastructure needed to collect and store kidney. The second is to request a relative to donate. However, donor and recipient have to be compatible in terms of blood type and tissue type, such as relative donors are often incompatible. Now, what are a case for change? Thus, regulation for kidney exchange are needed, as kidney exchange must often occur across the family units. But we argue that these regulations need urgent reform to unshackle two innovative kidney exchange methods, such as kidney swaps and kidney chains. In kidney swap, let us take the example of two strangers. For example, Sunita and Zoya, who needs kidneys. Sunita's spouse is incompatible with her, and Zoya has the same problem. However, if Sunita's spouse is compatible with Zoya, that means if the partner is, compatibility with respect to the tissue and the blood is okay. So, what is going to happen? The donation of kidney, what is going to happen, could effectively work out. Our research shows that there are barely any swaps and almost no chains in India. This is because of legal roadblocks. That means the kind of incidents that we have just discussed is not all the time possible. Why? Because we have legal roadblocks, and this is a significant opportunity missed with terrible consequences. Consider swap transplant are legally allowed in India with due permission, but only near relatives are allowed. That means only your relatives, that means near relatives are allowed. Exception to this restrictions are Kerala, Punjab, Haryana, where High Court judgment have recently allowed non-near relative donor recipient pairs after verification. Thus, in some states, donor is not a near relative. She and her donor cannot participate in a swap. By contrast, it is legal for Sunita's non-near relative to donate to her. These double standard across swaps and direct donations are questionable. So, what is happening is, while there are occasional swaps in India, there are almost no kidney chains. First, in all states except Kerala, it is illegal to donate a kidney out of altruism. That means, out of if you are willing to do it as an act of generosity, then this is not possible. Thus, one cannot start a chain since one cannot donate without getting a kidney. So, the lack of kidney chain is possibly an even bigger opportunity missed than swaps. While participating in swaps, families demand nearly simultaneous operation of all donors and recipients. But in chains, each patient first receive a kidney and only then does their relative donate. Thus, chains compared to swap involve significantly lower hospital resources and uncertainty at participants. So, needlessly harsh laws regulating swaps and chains have contributed to a proliferation of black markets for kidney. That means, why, you see, they are giving you these legal roadblocks. And why this is happening? Because ultimately there is a market, there is a black market of organ selling. So this black market would evolve, and that is the reason why there are so many legal roadblocks have been put on. Now, at a slow pace, what is happening? Reforms of kidney exchange laws have been slow. The Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissue Act 1994 set the ball rolling by recognizing transplant possibility from brain stem death. In 2011 amendment, swab transplants were legalized and a national organ transplant program was initiated. But the national network remained underdeveloped initially. Now, according to the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissue Rules 2014, the swab transplants are allowed only for near relatives. So the government's recent reforms allow more flexibility in age and domicile requirements while registering to obtain an organ. So these reforms leave the fundamental issue of inadequate kidney supply largely unaddressed. So what or how things are can be materialized well, and how we can talk or how we can make it a bit easier without actually burdening the or sorry bypassing the legal system, without bypassing the legal system, doing everything within the code, and yet things become much more easier. So India does not need to innovate in order to reform chains and swaps. Sufficient precedents have been set globally. Australia, Canada, Israel, and Netherlands and US now not allow altruistic donations. Spain and UK have national level registries for kidney chains and swaps. US has specially made progress in facilitating thousands of swaps in chain. Spain even has international collaboration for kidney exchange. India's real challenge, therefore, is to learn from and replicate such existing successful regulations to improve the lives of several thousands of citizens. See, this is what I'm saying, that what need to be done is how ultimately you are going to form this chain of swaps and making it possible without without bypassing any of the legalities. You need to make the full use of the system, but at the same time the system need to be that effective that they are able to provide what kidney exchange, yeah, kidney chain and swap kidney chain and swap program effective. Fine, so this was about this. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so you have got this picture here, and this picture talks about the Safadarjung tomb, the last garden tomb of the Mughals in New Delhi on the evening of World Tourism Day. This is a tomb of Mirza Mukim Abdul Mansur Khan, who was titled Safadarjung, the Viceroy of Awadh under Muhammad Shah. The sandstone and marble mausoleum was built in 1754. So you need to know about the Safadarjung tomb. So you question can be asked from here. Let's move on to the next section. Uh, Now, see, because of India, US, Canada ties and the kind of criticality we have been seeing in the past that have been happening, so this Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance becomes important with that respect for IR section. Now, how does Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance maintain cooperation and closeness among member countries. Why was the Stone Ghost chosen as the secret collective database for sharing intelligence? Now, see, what you need to know is that how come, first, you need to know who are these five eyes. Then, you need to know how they are creating the issue. Then, if they are not countered, what possibilities are there that in future you are going to counter some seriousness over there, right? So, the recent allegations by the Canadian Prime Minister linking the killing of this. So, what has the Prime Minister said? That the five eyes, which is believed to have provided the information that helped Canada. So, who are these five eyes? What are the issue behind all this? So, the Five Eyes is a multilateral intelligence sharing network of five countries. And who are those five countries? The five countries are Australia. The another one is Canada. The third one is your New Zealand. Fourth is your UK, and fifth is US. So these are your five countries having a multilateral intelligence sharing model, which is known as Five Eyes. Okay, so what they are doing, it is both the surveillance based and track signal intelligence. Intelligence documents shared between the member countries are classified. What secret Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, US eyes only. So, which gave the group its title as Five Eyes. The alliance between the US and UK evolved around the Second World War to counter the Cold War Soviet threat. So, this is the back history. And what is the back history? This is about the World War and then the Second World War. The two countries which had successfully deciphered German and Japanese code during the war forged a collaboration to share intelligence related to signals such as radio, satellite, and internet communication. In 1946, the alliance was formalized through an agreement for cooperation in signal intelligence. The treaty, called the British US Communication Intelligence Agreement or BRUCE, was signed between the state, army, navy, communication, intelligence both. Now, what is important for you is to know about the five countries. You need to know how come this network is working. So initially, the partners are assigned respective signet, and what is that? That is the respective work. A Canadian intelligence officer writes in a mention that the US is responsible for Russia, northern China, and most of Asia and Latin America. Australia covers your southern China region, Indo-China region, and its close neighbors such as Indonesia. UK is in charge of Africa and west of Urals within the former Soviet Union, and the New Zealand is responsible for the Western Pacific, while Canada handles the polar regions of Russia. So here, what is happening? They have actually assigned the areas with respect to the countries. The goalpost of Five Eyes, however, has shifted following the collapse of Soviet Union and the emergence of new global challenges like terrorism and the growing influence of China. The Five Eyes have become involved in ocean, maritime surveillance, scientific and defense intelligence analysis, medical intelligence. See, medical intelligence also. Why? Because right now I have talked about the kidney chain thing. And here also they are saying that they are tracking information regarding medical intelligence also. So you see the relevance. First, they are involved in ocean and maritime surveillance. Then they are involved in scientific and defense intelligence. Then they are involved in medical intelligence. Then they are involved in geospatial intelligence. Then they are involved in counterintelligence. Then they are involved in counterterrorism. And they are also involved in what? Continuous sharing of intelligence product via secretive collective database that is known as stone ghost. So you should also see, they can ask you in one liner that who or which of the following is the term where stone ghost is associated with. So you should know that stone ghost is associated with your Five Eye countries. And this is what? This is a secret collective database. Now, what are the concerns? Why are we talking about these Five Eye countries? Yeah, like even if they are having this intelligence, then how is it going to affect us? What is the reason behind it? What is the cause behind it? And even if we know the reason, if we know the cause, then how are we going to counter it? So there have been several concerns regarding the privacy, security, and methods of working of intelligence alliance, which remained shrouded in mystery for long. The alliance was embroiled in major controversy in 2013 following the disclosure of classified document of Edward Snowden, a former national security agency contractor. So, described the network as a supranational intelligence organization that doesn't answer to the law of its own countries. That means this organization, this military alliance, this intelligence alliance is not even answering the legalities or the laws of their own country. So you see the effectivity. What is happening is that you actually can't stop them with the information they are having in their data shell, that is the stone host. Okay, the next news that we cover over here. See, this is important inside the digital world of cookies. Why this is important? Because of the privacy concerns, privacy issues. So you need to know how. See why this is all this is important, because we are entering the world of robotics and all. So what is going to happen is that most of the time, even today, most of our content is where or how we are working is online. Fine. So this brings the scope, or this brings the field open for cyber issues or cyber criminals. So what is happening is that in order to counter them, you require what? Privacy. So for that reason, you need to know about the cookies. So how these cookies help in fostering a sense of security. Okay, so that you need to do. We have done the Swaminathan part. Okay. Okay, so here they are talking about. Just a minute. Okay, they are talking about the current account deficit avoidance. So you need to know about the current account deficit. You need to know about the balance of payment. So all this is static portion. You can revise from there. Okay. We have talked about this Azerbaijan and the Nagorno-Karabakh region controlled by Azerbaijan. Fine. So this. Okay. So this much for today. Thank you so much.